Our panel discussion continues with actress, producer, philanthropist, and Open Hearts Foundation founder Jane Seymour, as well as her longtime friend and fellow actor Joe Lando and licensed clinical psychologist Dr. Lori Baudino. In this segment, Joe Lando opens up about his personal experience during the Los Angeles wildfires. Some of the memories are still tough to talk about, but his honesty brings a powerful layer to the conversation. Joe Lando is keynote speaker for the Each Moment Matters luncheon tomorrow at the Hilton Anatole in Dallas, Texas.
Welcome to At the Forefront, where we explore the groundbreaking innovations and developments shaping the future of aging. We're hitting the road to showcase how older adults are embracing change, staying active, and thriving in their golden years. Here's your host, CEO of Forefront Living, Tim Mallett.
As luck would have it, a flood, a fire, a friendship. Mm-hmm. If you fast forward to January, and as they say, things can change on a dime. And Joe, I know it's hard to talk about, but you experienced a disaster that so many people in this area did in a very personal way. Can you tell us about that day and what happened?
January 7th, I woke up at around 7 in the morning, 6:30. I had a headache, and I knew that's weird, but it's usually when it's windy. And I went outside, and it was windy that day. And I went down to my office, and I remember looking at this painting that I had from William Shockley, who's a friend of mine. He gave it to me for like my 32nd birthday. And I thought, this painting has been everywhere with me. All the houses I've lived in, every place it's just been. I'll always keep this painting. And that was just a weird thought. And then I saw that there was going to be 70, 80, 100-mile-an-hour winds that day, and I texted the man who was best man at my wedding, if someone lights a match today, we're screwed, And someone I believe did, because from my bedroom, I looked right out where the fire started, and there's a place called Skull Rock where I used to hike to. I lived right by this canyon, and so I could see all the canyons, from there on out, all the way towards Malibu. And it started with a puff of smoke. My daughter came at around 9 o'clock and said, "Dad, I see smoke." And so we went upstairs, looked off the balcony, and sure enough, a little puff of smoke coming for where the Skull Rock is. So you can drive up and you can walk into the park from the top, not walk all the way up, which would take a couple miles. So it was right in the spot where the fire had been on New Year's Eve. Someone lit off some fireworks. And they're claiming that fire probably smoldered for a week in this canyon. No. The firemen came on, they put it out, but the fire started in the exact same spot. It's easy to get to, and I believe it was an arson that started that fire. It wasn't someplace where somebody working, could have sparked it with a lawnmower or a car hitting a rock, or lightning didn't come out of the sky. It was on a ridge, perfectly in the canyon, so it was where all the wind was flowing through. And I watched it go from the ridge to another spot, going towards the Hearst Museum. And then the wind just kept going. And I texted my friend back again. I was keeping him, and I have all these texts that I don't look at, but I still have them. And I said, if it switches, if the wind changes direction, because it was blowing towards Jane's house, it was blowing northwest. And at like 70 miles an hour, it was a steady, hard wind. And I remember this is not a day to fly kites even. And I just said, if the wind changes, we're going to be in big trouble. It's going to come right this way. And it changed at around 4 o'clock. The wind shifted. And everything else was burning that way towards her house. And then it shifted and it just started coming towards us. And I had been that morning into the canyon. I walked my dogs. And when I was at the house, all my neighbors were coming out of my street, and I live in a little street that was called Charm Acres, and we knew everybody. It wasn't a very big street. There's only like 15 houses, but we all know each other. Our kids all grew up together, and I'm like the only guy who rides bikes and does that kind of stuff. So I rode into the canyon from my house. Sunset was all blocked up. It was like chaos. They were trying to evacuate all these people out of the old nursing home, and so a lot of elderly people on stretchers. And the road was all locked up because people were panicking. They were at this point getting out of their cars and walking because the fire was coming down the hill. And I rode in, and I saw the fire come over the ridge, and it came down the mountain not going up the mountain. It came down the mountain because the wind was blowing it about as fast as you could run. I remember thinking, I didn't take a picture of it or video or anything. I just got on my bike and rode as fast as I could out of there back to my house. I came up my street. Everyone was like, what's going on? And I said, run, it's coming really fast. And no one even asked me, are you sure? They was like, and people all left my street. My neighbor next door, Ian, and my son, Christian, and I stayed. My family left as quick as possible. And something happens to your brain. I'll wrap this up quickly, but something happens to your brain where you're just kind of seizing up. You're not thinking about what's the most important. You're not believing this is going to happen. It can't possibly happen. But if I do, what am I going to do? What am I going to take? And in the end, you can't take everything. So you take the silliest thing. You're like, this napkin, I'll need a napkin because I'll be crying later. Or, it's just the weirdest. You take what you can. And my wife was just like, would I take that? I said, yeah, you take the important stuff out of the safe, whatever you can grab out of there and go. And she was going down to her parents' house with my kids, the 2 dogs, the birds, and everything that was alive, and got in the car. And nobody took anything but the immediate stuff. And they went down to my in-laws' house, and we thought for sure they're going to be safe there. They're like a mile away, but they're closer to the ocean, and the wind's always blowing onshore, so you would think nothing would go that way. But somewhere along 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, it went dark because the smoke started. And I don't remember a lot of the way things go because my brain starts to work like this after a while. It wants to forget these bad things. So they went, and all I have are little chunks. All I know is it got dark way early. I didn't have any idea what time it was because it was just black as could be. And Christian stayed with me. Sorry. And I wasn't thinking clearly, and I wasn't going to leave. I thought I could ride my bike out of there and get out of the smoke. But before the fire hits you, the smoke is super thick, and we had masks on and ski goggles. I don't remember when we put those on, but we wouldn't have made it that far into the fire if it wasn't for that. I kept saying, I'll ride down to Go and Papa's house. That's the grandparents. And he was like, they're already gone. They left. They had to evacuate. And I just didn't believe that. And so I kept telling him, you go and I'm going to stay. And he said, I won't leave without you, Dad. And that's what I remember. My son kind of saved my life. And it was all on fire as I rode out with my bike and Christian in his car. I had my hand on his car. I couldn't see anything. There were no lights anymore. There was no electricity. And the smoke was so thick. And then after the smoke clears out, it's just the fire. I'm sorry, just the fire comes. And it's really, it was like 2,000 degrees. It was a hurricane and a fire at the same time. And we rode to my in-laws' house, and I put my bike at their front door because I knew the house wouldn't catch on fire and my bike would be safe there. And zigzag our way out of the Palisades to Santa Monica, and we went to my son Jack's apartment where everyone was there. My in-laws, my neighbors, people just went over there, and we just watched everything on TV burning. And then the next day, tried to get us all together. We were all fractured every place. You couldn't get a room. And then, Jane was just saying, come to my house to bring everybody. And at the time, I had my in-laws and 7 of us all together, and my in-laws 9. I didn't know where we were going to go, but 7 of us went to your house, and my in-laws found a place to go. And the dogs, the birds, and all the Landos landed at Jane's house. And I was worried the whole time I was there the fire was going to chase me to her house. Honest to God, I was up all night long, and I even was trying to convince you got to get your stuff together, in case something happens. You got to, because you don't want to make the mistake that I did. You don't want to think it's not going to happen. And the fire had burned across the street from her house just weeks before. So
Joe, your in-laws lost their home, and I remember when we talked a while ago, the bicycle that you left there was also gone.
Oh,
you lost.
Yeah,
you lost everything.
Yeah, when I went back to their house to see it you couldn't, there was their chimney, which was like where we all gathered around, you know, on Christmas and things like that when, you know, go to the house. And that's all that was left. And my bicycle was right at their front door. There was nothing left of my bike. It was a carbon fiber bike, a really nice bike my friend had given to me. And all that was there was the sprocket, you know, and that was it. That fire just, it melted everything, melted cars. If you have windows in a house, your house isn't safe because windows melt at 600 degrees now. I know stuff that I don't need to know about fires. But yeah, all of a sudden, like I've said before, we became those people you see on TV and go, oh, geez, that's too bad.
Jane, the night before the fires, we were working, all of us together, on our strategic plan. Jane had a dinner party. We were sitting around the table talking about the Open Hearts mission, and I so vividly recall you saying you never know when something's going to be happen. You have to be prepared. You have to have an open heart. And you were called to action within not even 24 hours of that dinner. Can you tell us about that?
Well, we'd had the fire come right up to us a few weeks before and around John's house, all the way around, and his son had been in that one. And so we'd already evacuated once. And then I called Joe and I said, the fire's coming your way, come to us. And he said, no, we're fine, we're going to my in-laws. I said, well, if you need to, come here. I'm so glad that he did. The fire also came and wiped out James Keach, my ex-husband's house. He and Nancy had built this extraordinary house. And it was just an inferno. And I just remember being so, I felt almost, I didn't deserve to have a house, but it made me feel better that the Landos were able to come and share what had survived. And that made me feel good because I felt, okay, at least I can do something. And as the most extraordinary thing was to actually watch them in real time dealing with what I was going to be dealing with in real time, you know, that same day could have happened to us too. And they're just, you know, they are our family. They're his kids. We've known each other forever, and you know, all the babies and Kirsten and somehow we all kind of got together and tried to make the most of what it was, and then people were very kind. They kept sending things. We had boxes of things. We had food delivered to the house. I kept saying, please, we're okay. We have chickens and food, and we're okay. Joe, you just kept cooking up a storm. Joe had to do something.
We didn't have hot water. It was cold water all the time. Which,
we didn't have hot water.
But we didn't have gas, only on and electric.
Remember, I had the generator.
But you just had the top of the house. Like you had to use just, you know, portions of the house. So upstairs was electric, and downstairs I had another weird thing I took was extension cord. And a little red camping stove that I
we used your camping stove.
Yeah, and so that's what we cooked the first breakfast on for like 10 or 11. I don't know how many people were there, but we were all the eggs from the backyard, you know, and cracking them and cooking them outside on this little camper stove. Yeah.
There was
and the cords to stretch the line downstairs so I could plug things in.
There were also moments of levity, which were like ridiculous to think about because there was nothing to laugh about. And,
but we knew we had to, you know.
But we were. Yeah. I missed when you left. I mean, you were with us for 5 weeks. And you couldn't wait to find your own place, quite rightly.
Well, no,
and we kept going. Well, where are the Landos? Where are our playmates? You know, we're opening a bottle of wine.
It was starting to get addictive, you know, and that's when I knew it was time to go because my reality, like I said before, wasn't living in Malibu at Jane's house. You know, I had to face. I have to make a decision. We have to go someplace. We can't live in this bubble, and so it was time to get out. And you know what they say about house guests, right? And fish.
We did.
They stink after 3 days. But we were there for 3 weeks, 4, 5, 6 weeks, you know. But God, it was wonderful. My dogs were never happier, you know. They're like, what? Oh.
You're invited to come back and we can do a recap on it, but without fire now. Is
Okay,
that
please. Yeah.
Now that you have a home.
And the whole time I was truly convinced that she was going to lose her house. I just was so worried
You
about
were.
that. Because the fire's
Jane,
burned
you've
for
got to
like a
move
week
that.
or two.
Jane,
Yeah.
you've got to take that. Gotta
Yeah,
pick the-
and we got to make sure, and I backed up the Suburban, her car, and we so
did.
get out of there quickly, load the stuff up.
You did a full Sully on me.
Yeah.
Full Sully.
I wanted to be prepared.
and then I went away for a couple of days to work or something, and I came back and he'd found drafts, and he'd gone to the hardware store and he'd gone and put.
Oh yeah, so wind wouldn't come through the front door.
Wind wouldn't come through the
wouldn't-
front door.
Yeah, sealed everything.
Yes, he was Mr. Fix-It.
Hopefully we're on that journey. Joe, I know you went out right away and started helping others. In fact, the flames were still going and you were out helping.
Yeah, we everybody in the family tried, and we were so fortunate. And there's another thing that you felt guilty because nothing had happened to your house and stuff, but I generally, felt guilty because I didn't have it as rough as everybody else. It was pretty terrible, just as it was. But I had someplace to sleep. Just knowing you had someplace to put your head down, but not me. Knowing that my family, my kids, my wife, had that. That was such a relief. But I would feel guilty. Here I am looking at the pool and the ocean, and we get all this stuff, and I get to walk down and get eggs and the chickens, and I was just so fortunate. And compared to so many other people, I felt guilty. And going out and giving things to people, passing on money, passing on the clothes, passing on the food, helped until it didn't. Until all of a sudden, like about 2 weeks, and then you're like, or I felt I don't want to see any more people at FEMA and I'm looking around everywhere you see the same zombie faces. It's the same thing. And I just wanted to try to forget about it, and so I couldn't go out and do this stuff anymore. It wasn't, I just didn't have it in me all of a sudden. And, we've done stuff since then, comes and goes, but you go down to FEMA 4 or 5 times and you do all this stuff and you're just surrounding yourself. Get my hair cut, and the woman who's cut my hair for the past 20-something years is in tears because she lost her salon and her husband lost his store in town, and they lost their house, and and they didn't have Jane to bail them out and give them someplace to live right away, and they have dogs, so they have to get an apartment, and it's not where they want to live. My in-laws, 40-something years, lived in a house, and now they're in an apartment. But there's something about humans. You learn to adapt. And it just starts happening, and you have your days. It's getting better. I'm not going to kid you, it's not great yet, but 2 weeks ago, I was great, I was great. But as you see, I still haven't been motivated enough or feel good enough to go out and buy clothes. I'm wearing somebody else's pants. I bought shoes yesterday with all the intention of going to, J. Crew or Banana Republic and get something cool to wear, and I just couldn't do it. But I knew it was important for me to come here, one, to honor my friend, and 2, to say it's getting better, and there's no real booklet to this whole thing. But thank you all for your support, and people were so kind, and
We appreciate your candor and your willingness to share this with us, both as actors and I would ask this question. We're in a room filled with art. Jane, I know you very well, and I know when the other big bad thing happened, the pandemic, you went immediately to art and you painted and you painted and you painted and then donated them to charity. We raised $100,000 that we gave out immediately. Talk to us about the art side. Talk to us about how that impacts the healing process.
Well, when I've been through my toughest times in life, that's when I paint. It's my healing. And I don't even know what I'm going to paint. And sometimes it doesn't even look like anything. But you've painted with me too, and you paint really well. And to me, it's the one thing that can focus me and center me and calm me. Once I start painting or drawing, I can't stop. I literally can't stop. It's addictive. I forget to eat or drink or sleep or anything. Yeah, it's amazing. It's a great diet. Forget a Zempic. All you need is wet oil paint here and a brush here and some turp there. There's no way you're going to put anything in your mouth, right? Okay, not that I need, but yes, I find art is healing to me, and dance for me is joy, and music. So the arts are the most healing things I know. Because I can process feelings through that. When I hear music, I want to move. When I see a beautiful image and there's color there, or a pen and a piece of paper, I can't stop trying to. I relate to what I'm seeing, and I just can't stop creating art. That's just what I do.
Thank you for watching and listening to At the Forefront. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to our social pages. We look forward to seeing you next time.